We all hear about Taiwan's teacher shortage, right? But what if the answer isn't just about finding more people, but about protecting the amazing teachers we already have? Today, we're digging into a pretty bold idea. What if we gave schools a way to handle persistent, severe disruptions? Not to punish anyone, but to safeguard the learning environment for every other student in the class. Let's get into it.
And this quote, wow, it just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? This whole issue goes way beyond just a job shortage. Teacher burnout is something that directly affects the quality of education our kids get. Think about it. When a teacher's passion is completely drained by constant classroom chaos, it's the students who lose out in the end.
So, here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with the crisis itself. Then, we'll unpack this controversial idea of letting teachers say no. We'll look at how to balance everyone's rights, walk through a practical 5-step plan, and tackle the biggest objections you might have. And it all leads to one final, ultimate goal. All right, first up, the teacher shortage crisis. To really get to a solution, we have to look past the easy answers and figure out what's actually pushing great educators to leave the profession they once loved.
And you might think it's all about salary, but it's really not. The real issues are the daily grind. We're talking about things like school violence, a flood of complaints, and just mountains of paperwork. But the big one? When a teacher can't even maintain basic order in their own classroom, it becomes impossible to do the one thing they're there to do: teach. That's a direct path to burnout.
So this leads us to the core of the debate, and it's a provocative question for sure. Should a school have the right to say no? Not to just any student, but to one who severely and consistently disrupts the learning of everyone else?
Okay, think about it like this. It's a really powerful analogy. We all understand that a restaurant or a shop can ask a disruptive customer to leave, right? They do it to protect their staff and the experience for everyone else. So the question becomes, could a similar principle work for schools? Not as a punishment, but as a way to protect the learning environment for the other 25 kids in the room.
Now, let's be super clear on this. This is not about giving a single teacher the power to just kick a student out. No way. The proposal is for a formal school-level process, and it would be a total last resort, only for the most severe and persistent cases, and only after every other possible intervention has already been tried and failed.
Of course, an idea this big immediately raises some important questions about rights. But the argument here isn't about taking rights away from one student. It's about rebalancing the scales to protect the educational rights of the entire classroom community.
Here's a key legal point based on Taiwan's own constitutional interpretations. The right to education is fundamental, absolutely. But it's not absolute. It doesn't exist in a vacuum. That right has to be balanced against the rights of all the other students to actually learn and the right of teachers to actually teach in a safe environment.
And look, this idea isn't just coming out of nowhere. It actually lines up with existing principles like school autonomy in Taiwan's constitution. Plus, it fits with international standards from organizations like the ILO and UNESCO, which are all about protecting workers, and yes, teachers are workers, from things like workplace violence and harassment.
Okay, so that's the theory. But how would something like this actually work in the real world? Let's break down the practical 5-step plan that's being proposed.
So this is a whole system, not just one rule. Step 1. Amend the laws to explicitly include teacher workplace safety. Step 2, and this is so important, create high-quality alternative education options. This means a transfer is a move to a new, better-suited environment, not just away from the old one. Then you've got to protect teachers from baseless complaints and officially adopt those international safety standards. And finally, the cornerstone of the whole thing, guarantee due process with clear procedures and a way for families to appeal.
All right, I know what you might be thinking. An idea this big is bound to have some pushback and some really valid concerns. So let's tackle the biggest objections head-on. Okay, first objection. Doesn't this violate a student's right to education? The response is that the right is being preserved, just in a different, more suitable setting. It's about transfer, not expulsion. Next, won't teachers abuse this power? Well, the decision wouldn't be up to one teacher. It would be a committee with parents and experts involved. And finally, will this create inequality? Actually, the argument is that it forces the government to invest in better alternative education, which could lead to more equity for everyone. So after digging into the problem, the proposal, and the counterarguments, let's zoom out. What's the real endgame here? What are we actually trying to achieve?
And if there's one thing to take away from all this, it's this. The goal is absolutely not to punish a child. The goal is to protect the learning environment for everybody else. It's about finally recognizing that a teacher's passion and energy are maybe the most precious resources in any school.
And that's a resource that's absolutely worth fighting to protect. So I'll just leave you with this final question. We all say we want the best for our kids' education. And this whole idea suggests that the surest path to getting there is by making sure our teachers can actually teach. If protecting our teachers is the best way to protect our kids' ability to learn, then really, what are we waiting for?